Hello, welcome to this update for Europe and North America too, focused around the tropics, but we'll see some other stuff too. So let's see first the tropics inclined to Europe. So there's Hurricane Gabrielle approaching the Azores, and it's still forecast to hit spots Central Azores as a hurricane, but transitioning into a post-tropical cyclone and later an extratropical cyclone. So still shows hurricane there. The hurricane force wind field is actually quite small, but the tropical storm force winds might affect the whole archipelago. So it still shows it hitting the islands as a hurricane. And then it will take a very weird path. You go towards Spain and Portugal. You might approach southern Portugal as an extratropical cyclone, and then you have lost all its tropical characteristics, but it still brings some gusty winds and some rain. And then it might curve south, so this is still trending south. So this system might return to its birthplace in Africa. Very crazy. But yeah, please watch out in the Azores. Today's Thursday, so 12 p.m. Friday, it will already have passed over you. So this is literally going to pass right over you in the next few hours. So this is your last chance for preparations. You won't be that strong, so don't be so afraid, but you'll bring some nasty surf and some minor storm surge and damaging winds. So please be careful. Let's see if there are any key messages. So shows like Gabrielle is expected to bring hurricane conditions to parts of the Azores tonight into early Friday. So already going to happen. Significant hurricane force wind gusts like across parts of the Azores. Even after the center passes, preparations to protect life and property should be rushed to completion. A dangerous storm surge is expected to produce significant coastal flooding in onshore winds in the Azores, and the surge will be accompanied by destructive waves as well. So heavy rain from Gabrielle could produce flash flooding across the terrain, central Azores, and even mudslides through Friday morning. So please be careful, especially during the night tonight. Here are the key messages in Spanish. You can pause to read, but most in the Azores speak Portuguese. So I'll say that in a minute. So let's see. Still be careful with rip currents, and especially like there's this experimental cone you can play with as well. And we'll take a look what might happen in Iberia as well. So here there's the GFS, shows it passes by the Azores, still quite strong. And then the GFS slightly further north, but then it goes into Portugal. And this might still have some chance for flooding and heavy rain because of relatively strong low pressure system, not tropical, but a strong low pressure passes over you. So this goes and might weaken between Spain and Africa. So by the time the low pressure dissipates, you'll be like near Morocco, but you already have dissipated. So there's the European model, shows like this passes. They're still quite strong in the Azores, but it's showing most of the convective activity like rain on the north side. But most areas will get hit hard. So shows like approaches southern Portugal. It kind of passes near Lisbon, but scrapes very closely, and some heavy rains in southern Portugal. And then it might still bring some rain to Morocco. The Europeans does show a few storms in Morocco, and then it goes dissipates by the 30th. So please be aware. And after that, the Europeans still showing some like strong low pressure systems in the Mediterranean to watch. Potentially some winter weather in the Alps and the Pyrenees again, but some strong storms by October 1st to like October 5th there in spots of the central Mediterranean. So still watching that, but let's focus mainly on Gabrielle today. So just checking, besides Gabrielle, still shows a few showers in the Alps of rain and snow, and then a storm or two in a few areas. It might be a cold front tomorrow in Ireland, the UK, with some rain. So yeah, and a storm or two in Greece, in the central Mediterranean as well, until Monday. So let's see here. This is like, let's see, Wingus, the European model. So shows as it approaches there. especially near the Central Islands. Before it was showing worse in Latins, but now it's trended further south. So shows like in a few areas there like Horta and not areas even like 174 km per gust. In a few spots 139 to 154. So please stay safe in those areas. And later it might affect some other areas. The southernmost island is slightly safer, but still like this central islands in the highest threat. So this goes away on Saturday and towards Portugal. So shows like this big extra tropical cyclone as it transitions, and then the worst winds stay offshore, but might be some dangerous surf and some strong winds across central Portugal in some areas. So Sunday still shows there, then it decays closer to Africa. Might leave some rougher surf towards the Canary Islands as well, and some winds in Madeira and into Morocco. So be aware and stay safe. And please be careful. So the icon has a similar thing, slightly less strong than the European, but still strong, the icon, especially the central islands, some hurricane force winds. So please stay safe. The icon does have some Sargas, central Portugal, so be careful. And yeah, so here for rain, does show like the most precipitations is on the north side, but does show some good amounts across central Azores as well. Like the worst is between Lajes and Horta, but like it's further offshore, but does show some 30 to 50 millimeters in a few islands as well. That's just the European. The icon is like this narrow band of very heavy rain just north of the central archipelago. The GFS is slightly heavier with some 70 to 85 millimeters in a few islands, especially Santa Cruz show like 106 and the Europeans some 80 millimeters. So that island might have some more higher risk of flooding. So please be careful. Let's see in Portuguese. Então, tem o furacão Gabrielle no Atlântico, que está chegando perto das Azores. Então, esse sistema vai trazer os ventos com força de furacão e ainda vai ser tecnicamente um furacão nas próximas horas, enquanto passa pelas Azores. Vai ter uns ventos muito fortes, principalmente as rachadas de vento mais de 100 km por hora. Alguns modelos até mostram uns 170 ou até mais, 150. Uns outros mostram só uns 120, 140. Mas muito cuidado com esses ventos que podem fazer estragos. E também o mar vai estar muito bravo, pode ter inundações costeiras e uma maré muito forte. Então, cuidado com inundações costeiras, também a chuva forte. Mostra que o pior vai estar pro norte, mas mostra tipo até uns quase 50 minutos em algumas ilhas centrais e até uns 80 em Santa Cruz e outras zonas. Então, muitíssimo cuidado com inundações, deslizamentos de terra, mas principalmente esses ventos muito fortes. Então, avisem mais gente e cuidado. Vocês estão pensando o que vai acontecer depois com Portugal? Então, mostra que esse sistema pode chegar até o sul de Portugal e passar lá para a África, mas quando ele chegar aqui, não vai ser tropical mais, vai ser extratropical. Então, vai ser tipo aquelas tempestades que tem no inverno extratropicais, mas ainda vai trazer chuva localmente mais forte em algumas zonas, até Lisboa, mais umas zonas mais para o sul de Portugal e alguns ventos mais fortes. Tem os modelos que mostra umas rachadas de vento sábado até domingo, até tipo uns 75, 80 km por hora perto do litoral, e daí vai embora até segunda. Então, muito cuidado também, principalmente a maré e as correntes fortes na costa de Portugal e nas Azores. Então, muito cuidado. E é isso. So stay safe, be careful there, please stay safe. So here in the rest of Europe, next 5 days does show some more rain across the Mediterranean of Spain. The icon, the European, does show a few showers still next 5 days, a few spots in eastern Spain. So let's see when. So like today, there were some showers. Friday, still a finger or two in the ocean, but Friday is more towards Tunisia, those areas in southern Italy. And then Saturday doesn't show much on Saturday. So like a shower or two in Mallorca, but not much. Then Sunday, an extra shower. Monday, a few more storms in the Balearic Islands and eastern Spain. Monday, Tuesday still shows storms. So be careful. And after Tuesday, we are already monitoring potential future systems across the Mediterranean until October 4th. They might be stronger. So we'll keep watching and just be aware. The temperatures are already colder than in the Alps. It's a -1, -3. And so be aware. The Pyrenees very coldish as well, especially during the night and early mornings. It's a -1, 0. So stay safe. Friday, even along the coast, right, 17 degrees, but does show a slight warm up a few areas Spain in the weekend. But the rest of Europe still like there's slightly cold in Russia, but mild temperatures during the day in Central Europe. During the night, where it cools down. Like this is Sunday night into next Monday morning, where it shows in Norway, Russia, negative temperatures in the Alps still, but France, Germany, pretty chilly to mild, especially Slovakia, even 2 degrees. So already slightly colder. The UK as well. In the south, around 11, 10 degrees. So this goes and then does get slightly more below average, especially on October 1st across Romania, Western Russia, and spots of the Alps still cold. And then during the day still warms up in southern Portugal and Spain, and a few areas the Mediterranean, in Turkey, but still cold. Some models are still showing colder in October, especially in the Alps. So still monitoring. But if those systems happen in the first week of October and everything, we'll sure make more videos. So be aware. But there's a particularly dire situation about to happen in the Bahamas and spots of the southeastern US, possibly. Depends on where this hurricane decides to go. But there's tropical storm Humberto in the Atlantic now. They might become a hurricane. So if you check here, they even have a major hurricane Humberto by Sunday in the Atlantic, but this is not supposed to hit anyone. It might go into the Atlantic and pass near Bermuda, but the track after Monday is already very uncertain because it's not going further east. It's between Bermuda and the U.S., so it might pass close, brings some rip currents. But the real threat is this red guy over here coming after. So tropical waves produce large areas of disorganized showers and thunderstorms across the Dominican Republic, Turks and Caicos, and some very gusty winds. And air low pressure is expected to fall along the wave tonight and early Friday when it moves near the southeastern Bahamas. The low is expected to become tropical depression when it's in the vicinity of central Bahamas a couple of days. Interested Dominican Republic, Haiti, Turks and Caicos, and Bahamas should monitor the progress of the systems as heavy rains and gusty winds are likely regardless of development. And you should watch in the US, but still don't stress about it too much. Nothing certain, but the European model does show here above 100 millimeter spots in the Turks and Caicos and Bahamas. So this might bring some flooding and possible landslides towards the Turks and Caicos. You should really be watching the Bahamas, especially the eastern Bahamas. And the European has took a hard turn now on this latest run into North Carolina and South Carolina. So it's showing even 7 to 9 inches next 5 days from this storm. So I don't guarantee it will hit the US, but this latest run does indicate that the GFS is up to some 8 inches almost in South Carolina next 5 days from this system. And then it shows like 4 to 6 inches the Turks and Caicos. It's close to 100 millimeters. So please stay safe. The icon is the concerning part because the icon shows upwards of 500 millimeters in the Bahamas, 569. But don't put your faith on this because the icon's not good with tropical cyclones and it exaggerates a lot. But if this happens, it might produce some catastrophic flooding if this happens. But I don't really think it will happen. But regardless of any development, be careful right now in the Dominican Republic, Haiti, Cuba, some nasty thunderstorms. So be careful. Let's see if there's anything impressive here. So there's this gigantic blob of storms south of the Dominican Republic. So be careful, some heavy rains there and Haiti as well throughout the next day or two. So please be careful. Let me just say this. Una ola tropical que se puede convertir en una tormenta tropical en unos días va a pasar en la República Dominicana con tormentas y lluvias muy fuertes hoy, día 25 de septiembre, hasta el 27 más o menos. Precauciones con inundaciones y tormentas fuertes. So stay safe. And does show a storm or two in Jamaica, some more showers the Eastern Caribbean, a few storms, but especially Central America, a few more tropical downpours across Mexico. Those areas further north have more chance of mudslides, especially as you go into the deserts in Arizona and New Mexico. So be careful, the storms as usual, and some gusty winds, lightning, and flooding if we with those storms as usual, and in South America. So be careful. But let's see here some interesting things. So there's like first Gabrielle, the models, almost all of them pass from across southern Portugal and turning into Africa, and an outlier or two goes further east, and it's a category one now, but forecast to weaken very fast because on satellite it barely looks like a hurricane anymore. So shows here like there's Humberto, mainly forecast to go out into the Atlantic after it passes Bermuda, just curving east. But there are two models going west, but don't really look on those. There's like a category 3 still expected and category 4 potentially, but still a tropical storm, so it might reach the intensity like further out to sea, but still some dangerous wave currents along all of these coasts. So stay safe with that. There's a lot of deep convection starting near the core, so I'm still strengthening. Let's see now what's really going to happen. So there's the GFS, it tries to form that wave right over the Bahamas and Turks and Caicos. So there might be cyclogenesis right over you, and that means very strong winds, and dangerous storms and flooding. And the GFS strengthens it more in the northern Bahamas, and there are like two hurricanes, the same picture. There's Humberto and the other one. I forgot the new name, but it starts with I, Imelda or something. So it goes and it does bring a hurricane to South Carolina, and a potent one. I know the GFS is not reliable, so let's see if the European has something different. It shows the storm gradually organizes in the Bahamas, but very slowly in a natural pace. But then it also goes into South Carolina as a tropical storm, potentially to Georgia, and Humberto most likely curves out into the Atlantic. So there's the icon that has its own ideas, and then it tries to form the Turks and Caicos, but it forms and kind of stalls in the Bahamas and kind of just spins there and then goes into Bermuda. So the icon is a very complex situation, and since it's showing something different than the other models, it's likely that it won't happen. But still monitoring because the Canadian, instead of going to the Carolinas, the Canadian gets Imelda and interacts with Humberto, and both spin together and go out into the Atlantic. So that's another scenario, but it's kind of unlikely as well. All scenarios are possible, but for now, the two major models are going towards the Carolinas. So just watch if you are there in the southeastern US. Please be watching this closely. If you are in the Bahamas, be prepared for some heavy rain, gusty winds, and flooding, and Turks and Caicos. So now Uh, let's shift some focuses here to see what's happening, like some rainfall. Still a slight risk in Arizona and into New Mexico and spots California, Nevada. So still be careful, some flooding. And the southeastern US, the East Coast, a marginal. So day two still a slight in the southwest. So still be careful, some flash flooding. Day three still New Mexico and Texas and marginal over the southwest. Marginal starting the Carolinas already. Day four still marginal the Carolinas and slight across New Mexico still. So you might have many days of heavy rain there. So be careful. And day five marginal in California as well. So day one through seven does indicate this being a threat still to the Carolinas, perhaps Virginia or Georgia nearby as well, and still like those fronts, the Pacific Northwest, especially in Canada, the worst, but there's still a good chunk of the rain across the northwestern US into California and Oregon, more than 3 inches next 7 days. So be aware too, those areas, and yeah, we'll keep watching. So let's see here. Especially like there's this range showing in the southwest, but here the European model for Canada does show even to like 100 to 160 millimeters spots in British Columbia next 5 days, and 7 days shows a little bit more. So be careful in the southern coast of Alaska, some like 7 inches or more, and a big part of it is snow because the mountains so be careful, and still might be a low pressure around Quebec as well, with some storms, but storms and likely some snow too. So like here, those fronts in Alaska and British Columbia, more snow and rains. And this there's a particularly strong one Friday until Saturday, more rain and snow into Yukon, Alaska, still more snow until Sunday, and then there's that clipper across Quebec with some rain into like late weekend into early next week. And then that shows some widespread precipitation, more likely rain and a storm or two by the 29th in the western US. And still some fronts later on October 1st and September 30th is showing one near like California, Washington, Oregon. They might be strong as well. So still monitoring, but nothing that certain. So still some hazardous fire danger today, September 25th in the northwest. Be careful, and there was an enhanced risk of severe weather a few days ago in Arkansas. We weren't able to make a video that day, but there were some very powerful storms. So now things are slightly quieter, much quieter, and then shows from Georgia to Massachusetts a marginal for some wind, and also Arizona into the southwest, a little bit of hail there as well. So beware. And there's actually a 2% tornado threat in the mid-Atlantic today. So watch out for that. Nothing crazy, but beware. Scared thunderstorms expecting the southeast to the southern New England today. Isolated damage winds, perhaps a tornado or two will be possible with this convection. Additional thunderstorms pose a risk of marginal severe hail, maybe across parts of the southwest. So be aware still a marginal tomorrow in Arizona, some wind and hail. So be aware. Day three, some general storms. So stay safe in those areas. There's the snow map here for 5 days. Does show a lot across British Columbia, even to 60 centimeters across northern Yukon, northwestern territories, spots of into Labrador and Quebec. And does show a little bit in the Rockies in the US, but like just 1 or 2 inches, 1 inch. Does show in the Sierra Nevada some 2 inches, but very little. Most is in Alaska, like some mountains to some maybe 4 inches. So be aware. And here still shows northern Alaska on the coast and into Europe there, especially in the Alps is already showing some good snow, some 32 to 50 centimeters near southern Switzerland, into Austria, perhaps a finger or two, the mountains into Romania, Slovakia, but very little, in Iceland a little bit. So be aware. And keep monitoring. These temperatures are still quite hot in the southern US, so like some 90s, even close to 100, some 90s in the southeast as well. And then Thursday, Friday, there's a drop in the Alps in the mountains, and in the northwest, some 30s. Then it rises again, goes all the way to the plains, some 80s, and into southernmost Canada, some 23 degrees. But in California, still some 90s. So Friday, during the night it drops, and then Saturday afternoon still warm in the south, and a few areas like goes all the way into Montana, possibly some areas on the European, and into like southern Saskatchewan, close to 25 to 28 degrees Celsius. And then still Sunday night, some cold in the Alps, but like the major cold is still up in Alaska and Yukon. So Monday, Tuesday, and slightly warmer still in the US. But then further north, northern Canada still shows like uh, quite cold, especially during the night across Yukon, spots on northwestern territories into Nunavut, northern Quebec, British Columbia. Friday does warm up in the south, but the negative temperatures are spreading further south into British Columbia, northwestern territories, still in Quebec. Saturday, Sunday, especially Sunday into Monday, still very cold this weekend in this area in the northwest. Be aware and a little bit of negative temperatures, northern Labrador down to Quebec, and the rest is like mild to chilly spots, southern Canada. So be aware, but there in Alaska, it's already down to like 6 degrees Fahrenheit, like even -1 Fahrenheit in a few spots, still no already. So that's next Tuesday, Monday, Sunday, still shows very cold. So be aware, you're already getting a lot of frost, and yes, so stay safe. Winter has come to Alaska, but the rest is still safe. So yeah, be aware, and we'll keep monitoring everything. And just be careful with gusty winds, both in northwestern Europe and spots in northwestern North America, because of those fronts. Especially in Iceland, there are Fridays some gusts, strong gusts in Quebec as well, even to close to 100 km per gust in the Hudson Bay near Atlantic Canada, and the cyclone in Alaska to British Columbia. Maybe some very strong gusts on the coast. And this goes even to central Canada Saturday there. And yeah, so we'll keep monitoring the systems and stay safe.